guess it's me now. So anyway, sorry about that. It's great to see everyone today. I'm Mike Smith. Gavin is on vacation, so you get me today, which is exciting for me because I love being able to speak in front of people, and church is as good a place as any to be able to do that. That's why I became a teacher, because I love the sound of my own voice, and I love a captive audience. So, you guys fit the mold for me. We're going to be talking about the heart of a father today. But before we get there, I want to talk about how exciting June is for me. June is one of my favorite months. It represents many things. My anniversary, Molly and I have been married 36 years. So that was June 6th. So that's an exciting day in June. My oldest son, Caleb, was born June 21st. So his birthday is coming up in a couple of days. He'll be 34. Both of those numbers just made me cringe. I'm like, I can't believe that. That's amazing. Then, as a teacher, summer break always came in June. So that was always representative there. And finally, Father's Day. Father's Day is a great day, although not as great a day apparently as Mother's Day is. I'm doing a little bit of research. I'm doing some polls. Apparently Mother's Day consistently polls above Father's Day. And I've looked at 20 of them. Mother's Day is ahead of all of them. If you go by the number of cards that are given, according to the Greeting Card Association in 2022, there were 139 million Mother's Day cards given, which that's amazing, And then there were 94 million for Father's Day. I was actually impressed with that number. I thought, wow, given how many cards I've received from my sons, I thought, yeah, that explains how low that number is, considering their mother always seems to get cards no matter what. No, they're good. I had fun yesterday going through my nightstand. I was cleaning it out, found all these cards that I kept. I was going back, I was reading through all these cards. Homemade cards, because schools are really good. That's the other problem with June being summer break is May is still in schools in session. So teachers are pretty good about getting cards made for mothers. June, fathers are an afterthought. So you don't get a lot of those homemade. All the dads are nodding their heads. Yeah, we know. So fortunately, my kids went to year-round schools most of the time. So they would have still been in school in June. So I did get a few handmade cards. But that was pretty exciting. But I also think about Father's Day, and I appreciate what Mike said, it means many things to many people. For me, it means the importance of dad jokes. How can you celebrate Father's Day without thinking about dad jokes? Are you guys ready? All right. What do you call a well-balanced horse? Stable. Get it? Okay, groans are okay. Groans are okay. And these are a lot of horsemen here. What did the horse say after it tripped? Help, I've fallen and I can't giddy up. Oh, I'll be here all week. All right, I got one more for you. What do you call an angry carrot? A steamed veggie. Okay, that was it. Those are my attempts at humor for you. Sorry. Another thing I appreciate about Father's Day is I think about my own experience with Father's Day. And I think what Mike said, Father's Day represents many things to many people. Father's Day didn't mean anything to me growing up. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But what I do think about when I think about Father's Day are TV sitcoms. TV sitcoms. And the reason for that is there were a lot of great dads in different TV shows. If you think about, some of us are older, so some of these will resonate with you. I tried to throw in a few more current just for the younger people. But I'm going to say either the name of the father or the name of the show. And you're going to respond either with the name of the show or the name of the father, depending on what I give you. We'll see how aware you guys are of TV culture. Okay, Howard Cunningham, what was the show? Happy Days. The Brady Bunch, what was the dad's name? Mike Brady. Okay, Andy Taylor. Andy Griffith Show. Rob Petrie. Dick Van Dyke Show. Okay, Stanford and Son. Brad. big dummy. Not the most positive role model as a father. All right, Carl Winslow. Now we know. See, there's some younger ones coming in here. Danny Tanner. Full House. James Evans. Good times. You know, he got to be a great dad with kid Dynamite as his son. Okay, Ben Cartwright. All right, last one. Philip Banks. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You guys are great. How awesome. TV dads typically would represent, in my mind, the best of dads. Now, some of those may not have been quite the role models that we would hope, but all of them have certain qualities that epitomize what I think in America we think of as a great father. For me growing up, those were the closest things I had to a father as far as an example or model. My parents divorced when I was 3.5. My dad left when I was about 5. And so my mom, my brother, and I, we moved in with my grandmother. And that's where we grew up. And I didn't see or hear from my father for maybe 8 years. So when I was 12 or 13, he kind of resurfaced into our lives. So for me, Father's Day did not represent this heartfelt, more kind of a holiday. I didn't do Father's Day cards in school because I didn't have a father to give them to. My mom was pretty much my father and mother rolled up into one. My grandmother sort of being there as well. And I think of those things, and it's hard when you grow up without a father to embrace what it means to have a father. You know, that would seem self-evident. But like Father's Day, it was just another day. It didn't mean anything. You know, and then when he resurfaced in our lives, he came back in, you know, that was great. I was still very young. I thought, oh, cool, now I have a dad. So that all of a sudden was supposed to, you know, kind of mean more to me. And I think initially it did. But he would kind of come and go. You know, I don't think he wasn't at my high school graduation. He wasn't at my college graduation. He showed up for my wedding. He was there the day of the wedding, even though I thought he was coming sooner. But he walked in. He wants to have this long conversation. It's like 15 minutes before the ceremony started. When he wanted to talk, I went, Dad, I don't have time right now. And then afterwards, you know, it was like, hey, we have a reception, and there's a lot of people here. So it wasn't like I got to visit with him. And then years went by, and we started having children. And so we have 3 children. And as we started having children, and I looked at them, and I looked at them with this incredible love, and just the joy that comes from, you know, the birth of your children, I had this intense anger and hatred towards him. Before, I was indifferent at best. I didn't think too much about him. When I did think about him, sometimes it was with pity, sometimes it was just with, you know, I don't care, I didn't always think about it. But once I started having my own family, this hatred, this anger, this bitterness grew inside of me. And I had to kind of come to grips with that, but it took a time. It took a long time. You know, Molly at one point, she goes, "You're destroying our family." Because I couldn't let go of this anger, you know, this hatred inside of me towards him. So I was a very angry person, and unfortunately there were times I would take it out on my kids. I would think of those TV dads, always how wise and calm, how they seem to handle so many things. My role models were like Andy Taylor and Mike Brady. You know, they always had sort of this great wisdom, real calm. They could handle any situation that came up. The kids would all listen to them, nod their head, and go, "You're right, I'm so sorry, Dad." That was not my experience with my children. Usually, it was big arguments about why it couldn't be done the way I wanted it done, which led to more shouting, things being thrown, a very angry kind of situation. I was like, I need Mike Brady. Where's Mike Brady right now? I need his help. I need Andy Taylor in my life. And I would appeal to them because they were my role models. They were the ones who taught me anything about fatherhood. And then this anger just continued in me. And then I finally realized, and I was a Christian during a number of years. But you know what's funny? Sometimes being a Christian doesn't mean you're fixed, right? Just being a Christian doesn't mean all these things go away. all these things from your past are just magically cured. No, forgiveness is there. Grace, redemption, sure, we get that. But there's still those root feelings that form you, that form your character, that are there. And dealing with that is so challenging. To get to what the heart of a father is, you have to deal with all the junk that's in your heart. And I didn't know how to do that. So I started talking to friends of mine, ministers that I knew. And it was amazing how when you start to seek advice, you start to seek help, how you'll hear a consistent theme. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but it's funny how it would seem so obvious, but everyone gave me kind of a similar answer. It sounds like you need to forgive him. I'm like, oh, you got it backwards, right? I need to forgive him. No. It's the other way around. I'm the wronged party here. Who needs the forgiveness? Me. No, it doesn't work that way. And I called him. I listened to their advice, and I thought, okay, that makes sense. I listened to their advice. I called my dad. And I think the previous time I had talked to him was when my daughter was born. And he had called. He says, oh, I got your message. Congratulations. I said, I didn't call you. That was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Must have been my brother. My brother must have called and tell him that I had a daughter. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to tell you. Then we hung up. And I didn't talk to him for years and years until I called him to apologize and to ask for his forgiveness. And of course, he didn't want it. He said, no. He understood kind of how I had understood it. I need you to forgive me. I said, no, that's not what this is about. I need you to forgive me because I have hated you and I've had all this bitterness in my heart towards you. And I have treated you cruelly and unkindly. And I have not honored you as God would want me to do. And it was a very difficult, very challenging conversation. And guess what? We weren't all copacetic after that. It didn't all just go like, whoa, what a great relationship we now have. I still struggle with him. He's 85 years old. My mom's already passed away. Both my brothers have passed away. My kids like to say the wrong family member passed away. Oh, I wonder where they got that. Where did they get that level of bitterness, right? Oh, no wonder, because dads pass things on, right? You see it in your children. And I realized that was the feeling. So I've had to work really hard at building this relationship with my father. And I haven't always wanted to. He's now getting older, has a little bit of dementia. He keeps dropping these hints how he'd love to move to California. The last thing I want. No way do I want him to move out here. Does that mean live with me? No, that's not going to happen. And I started giving all the reasons why it can't happen. Actually, your sister, we talk about all these other things. But I realized it's because I still am not healed in my heart when it comes to my relationship with my father, which impacts many other relationships. When I was thinking about Father's Day and how sometimes it's funny how God will pick the opportunities for you to have to speak in front of people and share things. I didn't want to talk about Father's Day. I was like, doggone it, it's Father's Day. Why did Gavin take vacation now? I had another sermon already prepared that I wanted to do. I didn't want to do a Father's Day message. You may be thinking, yeah, I wish you weren't doing a Father's Day message because it's not very encouraging for you. Maybe some of you can relate. Maybe some of you have wonderful fathers growing up, and I'm so happy for you. You have better than the TV sitcom dad experience. I think that's fantastic. But the thing about it is no matter what kind of a father you had, no matter what upbringing you had, there is an answer for how I can be, how you can be if you're a man, how you can be a better father. In Psalm 103, in verse 13, it says, just as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. I love the assumption there of the writer that a father has compassion on his children. Just assumes that. Oh yeah, you'll get it. Oh yeah, just like a father is compassionate to you, that's how I am. Because that was God's view. That was God's model. for how a father should be. There are lots of verses about that. Teach a child in the way he should go and never depart from it. Right? We have lots of instruction in the Bible. Spare the rod, soil the child. I know we all know that one. It's like there's lots of things about being a father that are taught in the Bible. But compassion is not always the clear thing, especially if you haven't had that model in your life. But the great thing is, it does not matter what my father looked like, because I have a model in my Heavenly Father. I have a model of what God's compassion looks like. And I think that that's the thing we have to cling to. We have to hold on. If you had a great experience growing up with your father, praise God, you probably got a lot of his teaching. But if that wasn't the case, or if it wasn't its fullness, you have to be able to accept that I need to learn more. I have to change. And fortunately, the Bible has some answers for us. If we look over in Colossians 3 and verse 12, once I decide that I want to live as a Christian, there's a lot of things that have to change in my life. It's not just, hey, I came out of the water, I go to church now, I read my Bible occasionally. There's so much more to it than that. In Colossians 3 and verse 12, it says, "And so as those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving each other. Whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you." We're commanded there to have a certain type of heart as a Christian. For years, my heart was not near this place. And it's funny when you house hatred and anger and bitterness in your life, it doesn't just stay there. It doesn't just stay hidden. Those are the kind of feelings that come out and you are evident to all. And you fool yourself if you think that's not clear. It's like being an alcoholic. Alcoholics are great at thinking, I'm hiding this, no one knows. Unless I'm lying drunk in the street. Oh, I've got it full, no one can smell the liquor on my breath. I'm not slurring my words. We understand that as alcoholics. We're like, oh yeah, I get it. People don't understand. It's the same thing in my Christian walk. I look at that and I look at that life and I think, oh yeah, a heart of compassion, kindness, no, not my sin. But the great thing is that verse is there. The verse did not go away because I'm not applying it in my life. And you know what? I can keep going back and reading it. I can keep thinking that's aspirational, right? That's something I can try to be like. And on good days, I would be like, yes. One of the phrases I think my kids must have heard the most growing up is, I'm sorry. Hopefully they got a lot of, I love you, I believe in you, I'm proud of you. But the one that I want them to know the best is, I'm sorry. Because that is really that crucial piece to be able to make the changes as the father that I wanted to change. Oh, how funny, my son is calling me. So, when he says here, we put it on in our heart. We put it on. There's another verse that says, clothe yourselves with compassion. When you think about clothing, you don't wear the same clothing every day. Sometimes clothing has to be changed. It has to be washed. It has to be dried. It has to be clean. Compassion is something that you have to put on and keep it on and work with it. Compassion, love, joy, kindness, all those things, they aren't a one-time shot. Just like the easiest thing in the world for a father is to be there as the wife is giving birth. Right? The dad, Molly loved it because we'd be there, she'd be having her contractions. You have a little machine that's kind of hooked up, the electrodes to the head of the kid, right? And it would measure the contractions. The moms in the room go, yeah, they are familiar with that. And there'd be a little thing on the little readout, and it would be going up. And I thought it was very helpful for me to let Molly know, oh, it's going up now. Oh, it's going up. It's going up. It's going up. Oh, okay. It's coming down. It's coming down. Because it was the strength of the contraction. Because she didn't know. She couldn't look at the machine. She didn't know the strength of the contraction. I was there to help her know. And finally, because Molly's incredibly patient, kind, loving, those of you who know her, she's always been that way. She finally goes, I know. So I wasn't as helpful as I thought. So really, that's why for years and years, in most of those TV sitcoms I mentioned, if there was a scene of birth, where was the dad? He was out in the waiting room, right? He was in the waiting room waiting because he knew he wasn't really part of all of this. That's the easiest thing you do as a dad. You're a witness, possibly, to the birth of your child. It just gets hard from there on. I felt for Mike's coworker. I'm just thinking of him. Oh, yeah, that's great that he wants to be an awesome dad. But man, what work that takes. How much time, how much effort. It doesn't just come natural. Mike Brady made it look so easy. Why isn't it easy? Yeah, he had good scripts written for him. The kids just responded the way they're supposed to. We have to work hard. And for the moms, you know this. I'm really speaking to the dads, but moms know this. Moms do so much more of this work naturally. They're more nurturing, more loving. Dads have to learn these things because it's not always the way we're built. It's not the model that we have in society. I needed a different view of God. I was really good with God as creator. I was good with God as judge, God as Lord. I understood all that. Yes, commandments, rules, I got it. I'm all over that. But God as Father eluded me. I don't know what that looks like. To me, that was sort of insulting. Like, I don't want God as a father. I don't want that. I didn't need a father. My mom was good enough. My mom and grandma raised me. That's all I needed. I didn't need a dad. I'm fine. That's what the tape I played over and over in my head growing up because I wanted a dad. Right? You read all those events where you wanted a dad. And I didn't have that. So I didn't need God as a father. But I missed out on so much because of it. I missed out understanding the compassion and love of God. I love the story of the prodigal son. Because the father, representing God, when the son is returning, he sees him far off. He's been waiting for him. He sees him. He feels compassion. He sees his son and has compassion. That's a model that I can follow. That's a father I want to be like. I want to have that heart of compassion. To close out, going back to Psalm 103, we don't have a lot of time to get this right. We don't. We would like to. Sometimes I'm amazed when I read about guys becoming fathers in their 80s. It's been in the news a little more lately. Hey, all the power to him. First off, for being able to do that physically, but secondly, being able to launch into having a child when you're 80-something, that's just mind-boggling to me. It's not like Old Testament days where they seem to live a little bit longer. So most of these children, they're going to grow up not really having their dad around, right? It's because life is short. And if we continue reading there in Psalm 103, verse 14, for he himself knows our frame. He is mindful that we are but dust. As for man, his days are like grass. As a flower of the field, so he flourishes. When the wind has passed over, it is no more, and its place acknowledges it no longer. But the loving kindness of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children. You may have a legacy that you leave, but in several generations, you're not going to be much of a memory. You won't be. We can think about, oh yeah, my grandchildren. Those of you who have grandchildren, I'm waiting for that, so I'm hoping that'll happen in my life someday. But for those of you who have grandchildren, that's fantastic. Hopefully they'll have great memories of you. Oh, grandpa or grandma or whatever you want to call them. That's fantastic. I had a great time with George and Lori's grandchildren. We were here a couple of weeks ago, and they were just a delight. They have more than this, but they had two twins, Claire and Elizabeth, and they were just a joy. And I just thought, yeah, I want grandchildren. Why can't I have grandchildren? George and Lori are so lucky. I'm sure they don't always feel that when they're actually to watch them. But for me, it was fantastic. And I thought, yes, there's a legacy. They're going to remember George and Lori. They're going to remember the impact that they have on their life. But eventually, George and Lori are going to be dust. And their children's children, they go, oh, let me see pictures and know from pictures. But that's it. That's the same for all of us. That's the same for all of us. Because that's the nature of life. No matter what legacy we hope to leave, it will fade. But not God's legacy. God's legacy is there for the children and their children and their children forever. We still, thousands and thousands of years later, we are still talking about the compassion and kindness and love of God. That's a legacy that will never end, no matter what we see in the world around us. We know the legacy that God has in our lives. Many of those TV sitcom dads, their legacy lives on in reruns, in syndication. You can still find the Brady Bunch on channel somewhere. You can find every single show that I mentioned is showing somewhere. But you know what? Sometimes legacies like that change. One dad I didn't mention was Cliff Huxtable. Yeah. Remember that show? Yeah. Yes. I was even asking Dwayne, what do you think if I mentioned Cliff Huxtable from the Cosby Show? He goes, no, I wouldn't do that. So I'm using it sort of again as that example of that's a legacy, unfortunately. This legacy, that show, you can't find that show. Can't find any Cosby shows anywhere on TV because there's a different legacy associated with that. We want a legacy that can be cherished, that can be impactful, that can guide us, that can make our lives different. And we have that through God, our Father. God the Father gives us that legacy because of his compassion and his love towards us. Just like the Father and the prodigal son, he's waiting for us. He's looking, he's searching, he wants us. That's why God is so amazing. So no matter your upbringing, no matter what you have, I used to tell my kids, if all I ever did was come home from work, sit on the couch and drink beer, that was a better dad than I ever had. They laughed, they thought that was fun. But I was sort of true about that, But I had to learn. Now, those are some of the things I had to say I'm sorry for, But, I tried to be a good dad. Once, I found the right dad to model myself after. I didn't need Mike Brady. I didn't need Aaron Taylor. I needed a God the Father. So that I could be the man and the father I wanted to. So happy Father's Day, all you dads, all you want to be dads, all you future dads, all your grandparents, all your granddads, all your want-to-be granddads like me. It's awesome that we have a model. We could have even gone further in this with how Jesus modeled compassion because he was just like his Father. But then I'd keep you all here another hour, and some of you probably have things you're going to do with your kids today, so that's fantastic. So anyway, thank you all. I appreciate your patience, appreciate you being here today and listening, and I hope this can be helpful and meaningful for many of you. At this time, I know we did prayer requests earlier. If there is something that you need prayers for, there are cards right in front of you. You may fill in one of those in, and you can give them to Mark in the back, or you make them forward if you'd like. We're going to go ahead and close or have a song at this time. Thank you.